Gonna have some awkward silence going here while everything's pushing up, so I'll just keep talking. See what happens. It's gonna pop up over here on my iPad. Sounds like we're live because I just heard my wife's phone go cha-ching. So we are.
I just got a notification on my phone, so maybe that's maybe we're live.
We are live. We are live. We are live. So welcome. This is Forrest Thursday night Unscripted with the awesome Zac McCay is going to be our featured unscripted guest this evening. As you can see from the title, awesome stay-at-home dad of 8. Yes, 8 awesome children. He's an awesome husband and a full-time network marketer. So I think we're going to get some cool nuggets. So if this is the first time catching me live, hang out. You're going to enjoy the ride. If you've been here before, make sure you tag your teammates. Go ahead and don't be shy. You can do a watch party if you like. We won't be mad at you, and don't be scared to do one. Feel free to jump on. If you're a friend of Zac's, make sure you love it, like, share it, tag it, make comments. If you have questions as we're going through this, I'll be watching this over here on my iPad. Don't be scared to do one. I'm going to turn the volume down so we can see any comments that pop up over there. We'll keep tabs of those and answer any questions. Feel free as you're going through, if anybody you have any questions at all, just drop them in the chat. And depending on where we're at in the conversation, we may interject those or just wait till the end to ask them. So, Zac, I'm going to give it away to you, sir. So what it was like, what happened, what it's like now. Who are you? What do you do? Where you come from? Tell us your story.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much, first of all, Forrest. It's awesome to be doing this with you. I'm honored to be on your Unscripted. I keep up with you on social media. Love your stuff, man. You're an absolute machine, and it's an honor to be with you here. So thank you for that.
Appreciate it. Yeah,
man. Let's see. So yeah, what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. I'm familiar with the format. So I'll tell you. So I had a rough go coming up through childhood and into my teen years, into my 20s. Got really put on a bad path for a while. Got into a lot of trouble with drugs and alcohol. It was you know, I could take up better than an hour talking about, you know, what kind of hell that was. I thought I was having the time of my life, you know, and what I was really doing was I was putting on chains one after another. After being in jail a few times, I decided to make a change to try to do something to turn my life around. I went into a drug and alcohol rehab center in Atlanta, Georgia. It was funny because when I checked in, they told me that because of my specific situation, they would not accept me unless I committed to 90 days. They would not accept me because of the number of drugs that I was doing, the quantity that I was doing, and the length of time that I had been using all of this stuff, poisoning my mind and my body. There's no way I stood a chance unless I stayed for 90 days. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, that's forever. I was 26 years old, and I thought, there's no way I can stay for 90 days. I was really out of options. This was the last house on the block. I didn't have a lot of options at my disposal, so I agreed. And the 90 days turned into 14 months in treatment, and I needed every day of it. But this sort of infused me with the tools I needed to start to turn my life around. And I thank God that I spent every day that I did in that treatment center and with those people, because it absolutely changed my life. Working on, as I moved forward, trying to piece my life back together, I finished up a bachelor's degree in 2000, and I got clean and sober in 2005. I got out of the treatment center in 2006, started piecing my life back together, and got my bachelor's degree in 2010 in healthcare administration. The idea at the time was going to be to take over the family business, running nursing homes. My family owned nursing homes up in Alabama and down here in Florida. I'm in Pensacola, by the way, Pensacola, Florida. originally from North Alabama. And so the deal was I was set to take over the family business running these nursing homes. I fell in love with Pensacola, Florida. I was in treatment in Atlanta, moved from Atlanta down to Pensacola where I finished up my bachelor's degree. And I fell in love with this place, man. The Gulf Coast was just, I made it my home. I was helping run the family business, which was one of the nursing homes down here in Pensacola. And we had an offer given to us that we could not turn down. And it was an offer with this group to sell our nursing home. I didn't want to leave. We sold the nursing home, and I'm floundering around trying to find what I want to be when I grow up. And nursing homes was out. I ran a few different operations after that. I ran a pharmacy for a little while. I ran a home health company for a little while. And these were just, it was such a grind. It was such a grind. The hours were long. The money was short. I was spending less and less time with my family, barely making ends meet, no matter how much I worked. You know, it was just like, and this is where I started to, the entrepreneurial spirit started to kick in. I got this entrepreneurial spirit from both sides of my family. My dad had his own small business up in North Alabama. My stepdad and my mom, they own these nursing homes, and it was almost like it was built into my DNA. And I started to get that bug, you know, started to get that itch. I got to do something different, man. I've got to be my own boss. I've got to set my own pace. I've got to be the one. I can't be making other people money. How do I do this? And so this is where I got introduced into network marketing, and by my mom of all people. She brought me in. She knew that I had what it took. And then whether I would actually engage and whether I would actually do that was another story, and that took a little while. I thought that, you know, I was waiting on success to happen to me. You know, I was waiting on this monster whale of a producer to happen to me. I didn't realize that you know, there was some work involved. There was some consistency involved. And this is something I continue to learn from people like you, Forrest, you know, demonstrating that consistency over and over again and showing that it produces results. I've got, you know, you and I both share a great mentor and coach, Ray Higdon, and his team. You continue to demonstrate what that looks like. And I started learning that in order to have any success, I've got to put in the work. If I'm going to be responsible for my own financial freedom, I put in the work, and results happen because of that. Success doesn't happen to me any more than recovery from drugs and alcohol was going to just happen to me. Any more than, you know, a good marriage and being a good father was just going to happen to me. These things don't just happen. It takes work. It takes work. And that's what I continue to learn today. The results continue to snowball. And I'm just so grateful that I have found an industry that I love, surrounded by people who are absolutely nothing but positive and uplifting, a community of people. I say this over and over again, how much overlap there is between what I learned in 12-step recovery and what I continue to learn in our industry of network marketing. You put in the work and you're going to get results. Surround yourself with positive people, and it's going to make a difference in how you show up. These things continue to be true in my life over and over again. And I could go on and on about, you know, these overlaps and you know, the pain and discomfort that I had with drugs and alcohol, the pain and discomfort that I had in being a slave to the corporate world, not having financial freedom, and now, you know, putting in a little bit of work and now seeing some results in all areas of my life. My life is now becoming more balanced, and I absolutely love that. So that's the nickel tour of my story. And you know, definitely, if you have any questions, fire away. If not, we can move on to something else.
Absolutely awesome story. Really appreciate that. And what's really cool, Zac, is that your part of your story is so similar to my guest from last week. Di has a very similar story when she went through and sort of told her serial entrepreneurial story of this business and that business and this business and that business. But here's here's what I found, and here's what I know, and what I heard about your story is that no matter where we come from, and I've learned this, having 31 plus years of being sober and coming from a childhood that it wasn't horrible, but we were so poor, but we didn't have the two O's in poor. So that's it. We were pretty down there. But the cool thing about it is that one of the things I love hearing stories like yours is that no matter how bad we subject ourselves or what we go through as kids or how bad it is as a kid or how bad we what we do to ourselves to overcome the pain, trying to do the drugs and the alcohol to fill the holes, get over the pain,
Yep.
is whenever we hit that bottom, right? Whenever we hit that bottom and we decide to make a change, it's absolutely awesome. And your story is proof that it simply takes a decision to move in another direction to make that change. And of course, that decision, it's greatly impacted your life. You got 8 children.
8 children.
Have a dad that gets to be at home with them all day.
Yeah.
I mean, that's freaking cool as heck. I mean, that's just, you're going to be like 12 forever. So that in itself is powerful as a dad. So let's talk about it. Let's transition a little bit into business. You do entrepreneur stuff. You did the traditional business. Yep. What was it what caused you to move from more of the traditional business into the network marketing side? What was the trigger? What did you see? Why did you do the move? What made you do that move?
I'll tell you, it was a few different reasons, I think. So when I reflect on, at first it was a slow process. So at first it was like, okay, there's this thing over here, there's this opportunity over here called network marketing that, can produce some supplemental income. I got engaged in a different company than what I'm in right now. And it was like, okay, let's see if this can help pick up a car payment. Let's see if this can help pick up, a couple of trips to the grocery store a month. Let's see if this can do a little bit. And, unless you're doing the regular work, and I wasn't, then that thing's going to fall off. It's not sustainable unless you do the work and build a culture. And I continued to just, stay in the kiddie pool. I stayed in the kiddie pool. And it wasn't until, just like in my experience with recovery from drugs and alcohol, it wasn't until I hit this point of desperation where I'm like, I've got to take ownership of this. I've got to do something different. When that moment of desperation, and it was, I had actually lost a job in the corporate world. I look at that as a blessing now. At the time, it was not. At the time, I thought catastrophe had struck, and this was the end of my life. We had a house in foreclosure in 2008. I was venturing into, had this itch, had this bug for network marketing, started dabbling a little bit in 2000, maybe 10 or something like that. And I'd lost another job in a home health company in about 2014. I was doing a couple different things and lost a corporate job. And again, here I am faced with this desperate situation. And it was only then that I started, really trying to take it seriously. At that time, I became a stay-at-home dad. My wife was making enough money for us to live off of and pay the bills, but there was still, just like we couldn't afford the two O's in poor, man. So it was really a moment of desperation. A little bit later, I got sick and tired of living that way. I just got tired of living that way. And so I started trying to actually learn from people who were being successful instead of just floundering around in the kiddie pool trying to figure this thing out for myself. So I started finding people who were successful, trying to start imitating what they're doing. And I continue to learn today. And, and now, it's starting to produce results. So that it wasn't a moment. It wasn't a moment. Your question was, what flipped the switch? I think it was more of a turning up of a dial more than it was a flipping of a switch. It was not instantaneous for me. And now, even to this day, I continue to turn that dial up. I continue to learn more, implement, show up differently, and then get a little bit better results. Now I incorporate, okay, what can I improve? And now with the help of a coach, I'm continuing to turn that dial little by little.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's as you were talking, I was thinking about the correlations in recovery. I remember in recovery, and they call it the two-steppers. The people that do the first step, second step, first step, second step. And, and it's really not until you do the fourth step and you make that inventory, right, and then you sit down with your coach or your sponsor or mentor or whatever you want to call it, and you lay out that plan and you go through that list and that inventory of, and you do that inventory and you sit down and you admit it to somebody else and you walk through that process, that you don't start to grow. And it's amazing. The similarities is when I remember when we went to Rank Makers Live in October, and my wife looked at me and says, it was like a question statement. You're going to do the coaching, right? And I looked at her like, oh, okay. and it was almost instantaneous. It was like that decision. I remember when I made the decision, and it was weird when I made the decision to sit down with my sponsor in AA and do that inventory. And I swear it took me forever to do it.
Me too.
And it's once you do it, like, well, it wasn't that bad.
Right.
And the same thing with a coaching program. And this from the people that we have in the coaching team, and being able to have a mentor. And not only that, is have people like you and people like us that are all working together in a group that can grow that. So the thing, I'm saying that I'm leading to a point to ask a question, or to maybe get you to answer a question. If you're a new person out there, you've never been in network marketing before, there's a ton of businesses out there. You've got to find one that you love and do that. You can check out Zac's. Definitely see what he's got going on. If it's a fit for you, great. If not, what do we say? It's absolutely okay. No big deal.
Absolutely okay.
No big deal, but check it out. But here's the thing, Zac. What would you say to the person that's maybe been in network marketing for a little bit? They're just sort of just like there on that plateau. What would you recommend they do to sort of turn the dial and take it to the next level?
There's so many things. So first of all, I think that, you've already alluded to it. You've already given away the answer. Tap into some people, tap into somebody, find somebody, grab them, sit them down in a chair and say, hey, show me what you're doing. You're showing up in the way that I want to show up. Tell me exactly what you're doing. If that means hiring a coach, if that means going to your upline, if that means finding somebody in your cross line, find somebody who is showing up in the way that you want to show up, just like we do when we try to grab a sponsor in recovery. You find somebody who's got what you want. Find that person, sit them down, say, show me what you've got. Show me how you got there. And it was a very scary decision. And I love the beautiful correlation you draw between grabbing a sponsor, sitting down, doing that fourth and fifth step. Now it's getting real. Just like when you hired a coach at that last Rainmakers Live, because I did too. Oh my gosh, it's scary. Now it's getting real. Now you're going to have to really evaluate. Now you've got to, just like what you were saying, we do that fourth step. Now we've got to honestly take a look at what is causing me to not succeed. But people are showing you that out of love. They're showing you that with an honest and sincere desire for you to succeed. And I know you've got people that you coach in your business, and same as me. I honestly want to see them succeed. And I'm skipping way ahead because that's the real treat and joy, both in network marketing and in recovery, is being able to see somebody else do some simple things and their life changes. Man, my gosh, that is exciting. That means that there's nothing real special about me or you. There's something special about the right formula. And all you got to do is plug into the right formula, the right system. And the system's already laid out for you. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can be floundering around, or you can say, hey, I'm having a hard time keeping my head above water. Teach me to swim. teach me to swim. And there's no shortage of people out there. If you plug into the right community, there's no shortage of people out there eager, not just willing, eager to help you succeed. Because you and I are both in an industry where my success directly depends on my ability to help people after me succeed. That's what I love about it. So if I could give one piece of advice, first of all, be consistent with your activity that produces results. Be consistent with that activity and grab somebody and say, hey, sit down and show me what you do. You got to have some willingness. If you don't have some willingness, I can't help you. I've said this in recovery and I've said this in business. I'm pretty sure I can show anybody how to get clean and sober. I'm pretty sure I can show anybody how to make money from home, how to make money on a side income. I can't show you how to want to. I got nothing for you. If you don't have the really grit desire, that deep down desire to really want to do something different and show up differently, I can't help you with that. Now, if you've got the desire, I've got the tools and I can show you how to be successful.
That's absolutely awesome. Awesome. I just had so much going off in my head when you were talking about systems and people and the similarity. It's funny. And I remember you talking about this when you were on stage, you were being interviewed at Rankmakers Live, and you were talking about, how you wanted to sort of implement recovery into, building your business. And it's all about systems. And thinking about my recovery, my bottom was completely different in my alcoholism than somebody else's. Right. That's not duplicatable. What's duplicatable are the 12 steps of AA.
Absolutely.
Going through those steps. The same thing in our systems. People are not duplicatable. Systems are duplicatable.
Sure.
And you can take an average person, plug them into a system, and get extraordinary results. That's the thing about having a system. The other part about being in the coaching program, and this is really cool. We used to say this in AA as well, and you guys will have to excuse the language. You can't save your face and your butt at the same time. So what that means is when you stand up in front of a group of people and you say, blah, 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 I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that, you've got an entire room of people accountable for you. And the cool thing about our coaching program is when you have a coach sitting in front of you and say, I'm going to do this. Or, for example, you put out in the group that I'm going to prospect, 1,800 people this month. Now you've got an entire group of people that are holding you accountable to say, okay, are you really going to go there? So that to the new person, like Zac said, to the new person is when you plug into that group, right? When you plug into that group, we get to hold you accountable and say, send you that private message and say, hey, so how many people did you reach out today? And it isn't a slam, it's a push. It's to say, because we know that, Zac, this, it feels really good when you're prospecting. Like, oh man, is somebody going to respond? And then you get a response, and then you get a result, and you get a customer, and you get a sale, and it makes you want to do it even more, right?
Bring it on, yeah.
And the same thing in AA is when you go to an AA meeting and you get a chance to stand up in a room, and you get a chance to share your story, what it was like, what happened, what it's like now. You tell your story, and then somebody from that room that you had no idea that you were going to impact comes up to you and says, man, I need to hear that. I need to feel like I wasn't unique, because we know in this business, in network marketing, is, again, it's a people business. It's a system that you got to give away to keep. There's a lot of and going down that road. So I know we talked a lot about sort of systems and people and transitioning that way. What would you say? And let's see, it's about 9:24. So I said we're going to be on here about 20 minutes. We got quite a few people on here: John and Chris and David and Vivian and Vangie and James and Denise and Michael and Angela and Sarah and my awesome wife over here. Thanks for swinging by. I really appreciate you guys. Again, if you guys got some value out of what was shared tonight, please feel free to drop us a comment what you got value out of this. If you feel like you need to share this with somebody, this might be some value to somebody that really needs some love. Feel free to reach out to them. Zac, what would you say? And I'm gonna get out of business a little bit and come back to the more of the personal recovery side.
Sure.
What would you give as a piece of advice to somebody that might be struggling with some type of addiction? In terms of maybe they're feeling unique and feeling like it's just them. What would you recommend they do to get help?
I'll tell you, one of the best things that I learned, when I went into that treatment center, I was scared to death. I had no idea what to expect, right? because I had this idea that nobody could really understand where I'm from. If you came from where I came from, you would drink and abuse drugs and people the same way I did, right? I'm a victim of my circumstances, a victim of my environment. And here's the thing, man, and I've heard this so many times in recovery, and that is, first of all, you do not have to live this way. It does not have to be this way. There is hope and there is freedom. There's a life out there that you could not imagine that's really beyond your imagination. One of the exercises that my first sponsor had me do, and this is very common, you can probably relate to this. In my first 90 days in recovery in that treatment center, I had my first sponsor. He told me to write down what you think your life might look like in a year or in 3 years or in 5 years. And I wrote down, well, I hope to have a job. I hope to have a place to live and not be homeless. I hope to have, it's just, just some minimal, level of existence. In my first year of recovery, my life surpassed that by light years. We experienced the same thing in network marketing. If I actually plug in and do some of the stuff, I can have access to a life beyond my wildest dreams. But staying in this idea of recovery is that you are not alone. You are not alone. There's an army. There's a whole world of people who understand exactly where you're at. They understand exactly what you've been through. There's not been a problem that I have gone through in recovery, whether it be from the abuse that I experienced as a child, whether it be from the kinds of drugs and alcohol that I did, from it be the way I abused people, any of that stuff, and any of the problems that I've had since getting clean and sober. There's not been one problem that I've gone through that I've not been able to reach out and find somebody who has successfully overcome that problem and learned how to incorporate that and make themselves a better person because of it. Not just overcome the obstacle, but make themselves better because of it. Learning how to overcome that in a way where you're thriving, not just surviving. And that's been the biggest thing is like, please get your butt to a meeting. If there's anything I could just beg you, please get your butt to a meeting. If there's any type of an addiction to substances or behaviors, get your butt to a meeting and surround yourselves with people who have been there and done that. Surround yourself and just keep coming back. Keep coming back. Keep going until the miracle happens. Because if you plug in, you surround yourself with these people and you take some of these suggestions, you can't stop a miracle from happening. It's going to happen. You can't avoid it. This is like, we talk about in AA, we talk about the promises. We talk about these promises of the 9th step. And this is a very popular reading in 9th step promises, about overcoming fear and all this stuff about, fear of financial insecurity, fear of people and all this stuff. You will overcome this stuff. You can't stop those promises from coming true if you take the suggestions that people give you. And I know that the idea of that can be terrifying. It was terrifying for me. The thought of living without this alcohol and drugs that I had become in love with. I was in love with it was everything to me. If a girl in a relationship had told me to choose between my alcohol and drugs and them, there was no choice. There was no choice. Adios. We'll see you later. And you're not alone. Please plug in. Please reach out to me or Forrest. Start with that. Just start with that. See what we can do to talk you off the ledge for one day, until you get your butt to a meeting. Then you can plug in, and so that would be what I would beg of anybody who has experienced or resonates with anything that you and I have said about substance abuse, addiction to substances or behaviors. Reach out, man. Reach out to somebody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Truly, truly, truly appreciate that. And just like Zac says, we're both here for you guys. If you're struggling, you've got some issues going on. If you're and I say this quite often, if you're in an abusive relationship and you feel that you're feel like you're in danger for your life, go somewhere safe. Find somebody that you can reach out to, whoever it is, and go somewhere safe and get out that relationship, because you're definitely worth it. because your story and your testimony
Amen.
could definitely inspire and impact thousands and thousands of people. You just don't know it yet. And the same thing goes with your addictions and recovery, going through that. And on the marketing side and the business side, the same thing. We use a hashtag we just started out. It's called Ingrid. And there's an Ingrid out there. There's an Ingrid out there that needs you to reach out to her because she's struggling. She needs help. She needs that extra money. Or on the other side, the recovery side, she might need to hear your inspirational story so that she can get out of abuse or get out of drugs or whatever it is. So, don't be scared. You got to surrender to win, right? You got to surrender to win. So we'll wrap up with that. Truly appreciate you, Zac. Absolutely awesome story. Again, Zac is here. Reach out to him. If you're thinking about starting a business and you're not quite sure what you want to do, and you just need a starting point, you can reach out to Zac, reach out to me. You can use one of our businesses until you figure out where you want to go. We'll teach you how to market. We'll teach you how to prospect. We'll teach you how to do everything you need to grow a business. If you decide to move on somewhere else and be famous, woo, woo, woo. Big hoops up to you. So feel free to reach out to either one of us. I love you. Zac, thank you very much, sir. Jesus loves you. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Live healthy, go out and make an extreme impact. Peace out. Thank you, sir. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot.